Hey everyone, it's Alex, and I am here with another 90th Academy Awards update video. This time I'm going to be talking about the 9 semifinalists for Best Foreign Language Film. Now, a couple months ago, I posted my video where I read off the list of the original 92 films that had been submitted for the Best Foreign Language Film category. And of course, every year, the Best Foreign Language Film Committee watches all the films and they narrow it down to 9 semifinalists. And from these 9 semifinalists, the 5 official nominees for Best Foreign Language Film will be chosen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read off the list of semifinalists, give a plot summary of each film that I got from IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes to give you a little more information of what the film is about, and then discuss what I think will actually be nominated based on buzz, prior award wins, and other things like that. So the 9 semifinalists are A Fantastic Woman, Chile, In the Fade, Germany, On Body and Soul, Hungary, Foxtrot, Israel, The Insult, Lebanon, Loveless, Russia, Felicite, Senegal, The Wound, South Africa, The Square, Sweden. And now here are what each of these films are about. A Fantastic Woman. Marina and Orlando are in love and planning for the future. Marina is a young waitress and aspiring singer. Orlando is 20 years older than her and owns a printing company. After celebrating Marina's birthday one evening, Orlando falls seriously ill. Marina rushes him to the emergency room, but he passes away just after arriving at the hospital. Instead of being able to mourn her lover, suddenly Marina is treated with suspicion. The doctors in Orlando's family don't trust her. A woman detective investigates Marina to see if she was involved in his death. Orlando's ex-wife forbids her from attending the funeral. And to make matters worse, Orlando's son threatens to throw Marina out of the flat she shared with Orlando. Marina is a trans woman, and for most of Orlando's family, her sexual identity is an aberration, a perversion. So Marina struggles for the right to be herself. She battles the very same forces that she has spent a lifetime fighting just to become the woman she is now, a complex, strong, forthright, and fantastic woman. In the Fade. Out of nowhere, Katya's life falls apart when her husband Nuri and little son Rocco are killed in a bomb attack. Her friends and family try to give her the support she needs, and Katya somehow manages to make it through the funeral. But the mind-numbing search for the perpetrators and reasons behind the senseless killing complicate Katya's painful mourning, opening wounds and doubts. Danilo, a lawyer and Nuri's best friend, represents Katya in the eventual trial against the 2 suspects, a young couple from the neo-Nazi scene. The trial pushes Katya to the edge, but there's simply no alternative for her. She wants justice. On Body and Soul. On the outskirts of Budapest, the aging recluse Andrei is the reserved and saturnine manager of a small abattoir, who was used to hiding his disabled left arm along with his emotions behind a busy schedule. And then, unexpectedly, the loner's eye is caught by a shy and graceful newcomer in the office, the young Maria, the plant's cryptic and glacially beautiful quality control inspector. Strange as it may seem, the slaughterhouse will provide the unorthodox background for a timid affair between the tender outcasts, who, even though they seem to be polar opposites, a small theft within the company's walls will prove that those two definitely share an eerie and almost spiritual bond. However, are the 2 dreamers, Andrei and Maria, ready to embrace the catharsis of love on both body and soul? Foxtrot. Michael and Daphne experience gut-wrenching grief when army officials show up at their home to announce the death of their son, Jonathan. Michael becomes increasingly frustrated by overzealous mourning relatives and well-meaning army bureaucrats. While his sedated wife rests, Michael spirals into a whirlwind of anger, only to experience one of life's unfathomable twists, a twist that could only be rivaled by the surreal military experiences of his son. The Insult. In today's Beirut, an insult blown out of proportion finds Tony, a Lebanese Christian, and Yasser, a Palestinian refugee, in court. From secret wounds to traumatic revelations, the media circus surrounding the case puts Lebanon through a social explosion, forcing Tony and Yasser to reconsider their lives and prejudices. Loveless. In Loveless, Xenia and Boris are going through a vicious divorce marked by resentment, frustration, and recriminations. Already embarking on new lives, each with a new partner, they are impatient to start again, to turn the page, even if it means threatening to abandon their 12-year-old son, Alosha, until after witnessing one of their fights, Alosha disappears. Félicité. Félicité sings in a bar in Kinshasa. When her 14-year-old son has a motorcycle accident, she goes on a frantic search through the streets of Kinshasa, a world of music and dreams, and her path crosses that of Taboo. The Wound. Zolani, a lonely factory worker, travels to the rural mountains with the men of his community to initiate a group of teenage boys into manhood. When a defiant initiate from the city discovers his best-kept secret, Zolani's entire existence begins to unravel. The Square. Christian is the respected curator of a contemporary art museum, a divorced but devoted father of two, who drives an electric car and supports good causes. His next show is The Square, an installation which invites passers-by to altruism, reminding them of their role as responsible fellow human beings. But sometimes it is difficult to live up to your own ideals. Christian's foolish response to the theft of his phone drags him into shameful situations. Meanwhile, the museum's PR agency has created an unexpected campaign for the Square. The response is overblown and sends Christian, as well as the museum, into an existential crisis. Alright, now if I had to try and pick what I think will be nominated, there's several choices which I think are a lock, but then there are others which I'm not quite sure about, but have the potential because this category can have both expected and surprising nominees. I think one nominee that seems like a solid lock at this point is In the Fade, because In the Fade, even though it only has like a 68% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, you know, is low for most of these foreign films, which have like ratings in the 80s or 90s, it did manage to win Best Foreign Language Film at both the Critics' Choice and Golden Globe Awards. Now, admittedly, those aren't always the most solid indicator of what will win the Oscar, but the fact that it won 2 in a row and that its lead actress, Diane Kruger, won Best Actress at the Cannes Film Festival last year for this movie, that certainly gives it a solid chance to not only be nominated, but win. A Fantastic Woman, I think, is a lock because it's been nominated for many Critics' Awards. It was also nominated at, I believe, both the Golden Globes and Critics' Choice. And plus, The Fantastic Woman will also bring some much-needed diversity to the genre of this category and just to the Oscars overall, because its main character is a transgender woman played by an actual transgender actress. Loveless, I think, will also be a strong contender because it's been nominated for several awards, and despite the fact that it's from Russia, and of course, when you hear the name Russia, not a lot of good things may come to mind, but its director, Andrei Zvyagintsev, I'm sorry if I'm butchering his name, he's actually not a supporter of Vladimir Putin. In fact, he's publicly rebuked Putin on a number of occasions. So, therefore, if voters are aware of this, then if they were hesitant to nominate the film because it's from Russia before, then they won't be now. But then again, when the Soviet Union still existed, that still managed to be nominated and win this category a couple of times. Not necessarily for like government propaganda films, but rather films that had nothing to do with the government, like an adaptation of War and Peace, for instance. And Loveless, while critics have praised it as like a condemnation of corrupt aspects of Russian society, it's not necessarily a film about the Russian government. Because it's about a boy who runs away from home because his parents just fight nonstop and ignore him. But the director, like I said before, he's not a Vladimir Putin supporter at all. In fact, his previous film, Leviathan, which was nominated at the Oscars in this category, was slammed by Putin and the Russian government for being an unfavorable depiction of the Russian people, according to them. So as a result, the Russian government would not finance Loveless, even though it was allowed to film there. and so he had to rely on international donors to complete the movie. And so I can just imagine if that should actually win, I can only imagine what kind of speech Andrei Zvyagintsev would give at the podium, and if he would have any direct message to Vladimir Putin as a result. So those three, I think, are very solid locks. Also another lock is The Square, because that won the Palme d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival last year, and while it doesn't have the most rave reviews, it has like a 78 or something last time I checked. It does have positive reviews for the most part, and there are a few English language actors in it, like I think Dominic West and Elizabeth Moss, but I guess their roles must be very small, because if a certain portion of the film has English dialogue beyond a certain percentage point, then it becomes ineligible for consideration, but that doesn't seem to be the case with The Square. And hopefully this will be better luck for the film's director. Hold on, I gotta grab my other sheet here. Ruben Östlund. One of his previous films, Force Majeure, was considered to be a lock in this category a few years ago, but it wasn't nominated. And he had filmed himself watching the Oscar nominations, hoping to see it pop up, but it didn't, and needless to say, it was quite heartbreaking for him. As for the fifth nominee, that's going to be tough to predict. I think the three films that stand the best chance of making the fifth slot are Foxtrot, with the Israel film, Felicite, the Senegal film, or The Wound, the South Africa film. And I make that assumption just based on the buzz that I've heard about these films. I guess if I had to pick, I'd say it'd probably be Foxtrot, because that's just the one I've been hearing the most buzz about. So my final predictions, I guess, would be A Fantastic Woman from Chile, In the Fade from Germany, Foxtrot from Israel, Loveless from Russia, and The Square from Sweden. Now, two films which you might have expected to hear on this list but are shockingly not on here are France's film BPM Beats Per Minute and Cambodia's film First They Killed My Father. BPM Beats Per Minute, that's the film that's gotten massive critical acclaim. It won second place at the Cannes Film Festival last year, and it's about AIDS activists in the early 1990s. It's won several regional awards. It's won several Film Critics Circle awards, and just one of the most praised foreign films of last year. So the fact that that's not on here is pretty shocking. And many people expected First They Killed My Father to be on here because it deals with the topic of the Khmer Rouge, which the Oscars have recognized before by nominating films like The Killing Fields back in the 1980s, and also because it was directed by Angelina Jolie. So her star power, many thought, would give extra credence to the film. But I guess not. But then again, I haven't seen any of these movies yet, and the Foreign Language Film Committee has. So, I can't truly judge these films, and usually it's not until after the Oscar nominations come out that these films even get started to be released in my area. So we'll just have to see what the Oscar nominations are, and hopefully at least one of these films will make its way into an art house theater in my area, or if they're available for streaming on iTunes, I'll watch them there, or Netflix. But yeah, those are my predictions for Best Foreign Language Film. Let me know in the comments section below what you think the nominees for Best Foreign Language Film will be. And also, if you've seen any of these films, be sure to let me know what you think of them. Well, that's all I have for today, but thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you've not yet already done so you can get all my new videos as soon as they're uploaded, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!